Imagine being born into fame, yet growing up amid chaos and secrecy. Lyssa Chapman entered this world on June 10, 1987, in Denver, Colorado, the very definition of Dog the Bounty Hunter's daughter. But the cameras never captured her childhood, one marked by addiction's grip, emotional upheaval, and responsibilities far beyond her years. In public, her father, Dwayne Dog Chapman, pursued fugitives across America. Behind closed doors, young Lyssa navigated a home torn apart by crack cocaine, alcohol, and unpredictable outbursts. Everywhere she looked, headlines labeled her Baby Lyssa, the troubled offspring of reality television's most fearless bail enforcement family. Yet beneath the surface lay a darker truth no tabloid dared to expose. Childhood abuse that left her voiceless for years, a secret pregnancy at 14, and scars of betrayal she carried into adulthood. Today, she stands not merely as a former bounty hunter's child, but as an activist, an LGBTQ+ champion, and a woman who fought her way back from the brink. This is not another celebrity gossip story. This is the untold journey of Lyssa Chapman, from turmoil to transformation. At first glance, a move from Denver to Hawaii seems like paradise. For Lyssa, it was anything but. When she was 7, her parents uprooted the family to island life, chasing fresh starts, but finding the same cycle of addiction and instability. Picture a little girl swapping snow boots for flip-flops, only to discover her father's absences doubled as he hunted bounties for hours at a time. Her mother, Lyssa Ray Britton, struggled quietly with her own demons, drowning frustration in alcohol. Between his high-speed chases and her silent tears, Lyssa became the de facto caregiver for her younger siblings. Blankets folded, bottles warmed, nightmares soothed. All roles she didn't choose. Friends and school vanished into the background while Lyssa learned to brace herself for the next collapse, the next emergency. The next day, her world shattered in slow motion. By age 11, the weight of her experience manifested in a cry for help gone terribly wrong. Overwhelmed by abuse she could not name, molested by a family friend but terrified to speak the truth, Lyssa accused her father of violence. The media seized on this explosive claim. Dog's daughter accuses him of assault. What no one realized at the time was how deeply rooted the actual trauma ran. Her false accusation fractured the Chapman household, sowing guilt and mistrust. It took years for Lyssa to find the words to reveal the real abuser, and it was only then that she began to understand another hidden pattern: the trauma heaped upon the innocent when adults refused to protect them. In 2002, Lyssa faced her most shocking turning point: a teenage pregnancy that broke every rule society holds sacred. 14 years old, pregnant by a 24-year-old man. Legal, moral, emotional barriers crumbled under the weight of her vulnerability. Imagine celebrating your 15th birthday with cake and candles, then stepping into a hospital room to meet your newborn daughter, Abby. School lockers replaced by diapers. Locker room gossip overshadowed by midnight feedings. Alaska, where she'd moved to live with her mother, offered a quieter backdrop, but no real sanctuary. Instead, isolation deepened her struggles. Welfare doors closed to her. Shelters cited age restrictions. In desperation, she answered babysitting gigs just to afford the monthly rent on a tiny trailer. Some days, the chill of a Fairbanks winter mirrored Lyssa's loneliness, yet the warmth of her daughter's small hand against her chest gave her a reason to fight. Even amid this upheaval, a spark of resilience ignited. When she was 18, an opportunity emerged to step into the world her father had made famous. Licensed as Hawaii's youngest bounty hunter, Lyssa exchanged baby bottles for bail bonds, embracing danger with a determination forged by her past. Her first day on the job was no fairy tale scene. Instead, she spent hours sorting through dusty case files before suiting up for stakeouts and arrests. A 97% passing score on her licensing exam spoke volumes of her drive. A hair-raising, 4-hour standoff with a suicidal fugitive revealed her courage. Each capture, each televised appearance on Dog the Bounty Hunter's hit A&E series, chipped away at the fragile identity built in the shadows of her parents' failings. Fans wrote letters flooding her family's office. A young leukemia patient's wish to meet Baby Lyssa underscored her ability to inspire hope. Through every high-octane chase and every personal triumph, Lyssa Chapman crafted her own narrative. Yet even as cameras rolled and clapperboards dropped, her internal battles raged. Alcohol beckoned as a false salve for childhood wounds. Public scrutiny carried the sting of humiliation, and romantic relationships offered both rescue and renewed pain. Soon, the girl who once cared for her siblings in a chaotic home would face betrayal in marriage, the public shame of an arrest, and the slippery slope of addiction's cruel embrace. But these chapters would not define her. They would become the foundation for a redemption story far more compelling than any reality TV script. Stay with me, because what comes next has never been spelled out in tabloids or television promos. We are about to delve into the darkest betrayals, the hardest battles, and the triumphs that followed. You'll meet the woman who took the pain of her past and built a platform to rescue trafficking victims, champion LGBTQ+ rights, and light a fire under systems that too often fail the vulnerable. If you thought you knew Baby Lyssa, get ready to discover the fierce survivor, advocate, and queen of reinvention waiting beneath the headlines. At 19, Lyssa's world had shifted once more. Fresh off the grueling licensing exam that left most candidates humbled, she strapped on a bulletproof vest and prepared to make her first personal appearance on Dog the Bounty Hunter. It was April 2005, and the cameras captured every moment. Her trembling hands gripping a radio, her steady voice commanding a high-stakes pursuit through Honolulu's crowded streets. In front of millions, she wasn't just Dog's daughter. She was a rookie force to be reckoned with. Viewers watched her walk alongside her father, her boots crunching on asphalt as she learned the unspoken rules of fugitive recovery. Anticipate every turn, read a suspect's body language, and above all, never show fear. While fans celebrated the adrenaline rush of the chase, Lyssa carried a silent burden. Each runaway relapse, each bail verdict, mirrored the chaos she had endured at home. Every fugitive she returned to jail reflected a piece of her young life that had once felt just as confined at BY mid-2006. Lyssa had transformed into a star in her own right. A string of successful captures and a magnetic on-screen presence earned her a nickname of her own, Baby Lyssa, a title once meant as playful endearment, now a personal brand with weight. She appeared in nearly 50 episodes by the age of 19, thrilling audiences with chase sequences that rivaled Hollywood blockbusters. Yet behind-the-scenes interviews reveal she felt torn between the exaltation of her career and the guilt of leaving her children behind. Between stakeouts and cell block visits, Lyssa grappled with the demands of motherhood, longing for bedtime stories she could only whisper through flickering phone screens. This contrast, heroic bounty hunter versus devoted mom, became a potent narrative arc that resonated. Viewers empathized with her struggle, clinging to the image of a young woman balancing handcuffs and diaper bags under the same scorching Hawaiian sun. Just as her star was ascending, Lyssa's personal life took a dramatic turn. In February 2009, during a family getaway to Oahu's North Shore, she married Brahmin Bo Galanti. Bo, 14 years her senior and himself a recovering addict, promised both love and stability. Their whirlwind romance seemed like the perfect union, two survivors finding solace in each other's company. The wedding, televised as a season finale, painted a serene tableau. Morning light breaking over Lanikai Beach, plumeria petals drifting in the breeze, and the Chapman clan beaming in approval. But beneath the laughter lay undercurrents of unrest. Early on, private disputes simmered behind closed doors, and hushed rumors of Bo's volatile temper began circulating among crew and cast alike. The cameras that had once celebrated their love now lingered too long, capturing every shadow of tension. Behind the flashing lights and perfumed air of tropical flowers, Lyssa struggled to keep her world from unraveling. By 2010, the cracks in her marriage became impossible to ignore. A facade of unity masked a pattern of volatility and emotional abuse. Alone in the bathroom one night, Lyssa whispered promises to herself as she packed a single suitcase, hoping Bo wouldn't hear her over the faucet's steady drip. Faced with the prospect of returning to a life of instability, she found renewed determination in her role as a mother. The thought of abandoning her daughters propelled her forward, even when exhaustion felt like a lead weight. This personal crisis would climax in February 2011, when a heated argument led to her first public arrest. The headlines blazed: Lyssa Chapman arrested for property damage and assault. Reports described a distraught young Lyssa smashing a window in a Honolulu neighborhood, clashing with responding officers, and slapping a cell phone out of an officer's hand. The world saw only the mugshot and sensationalized blurbs. Few understood the breakdown behind the breakdown. Decades of unresolved trauma, isolation amplified by fame, and a raw sense of betrayal that had nowhere else to go. As she sat in a police cell, cuffed and humiliated, the irony was bitter. Here was a woman who once apprehended fugitives for a living, now experiencing the unflinching gaze of law enforcement herself. The aftermath marked another pivotal crossroads. Hounded by paparazzi and haunted by regret, Lyssa faced both legal repercussions and the crushing weight of public shame. Would she let this moment define her? Instead, she chose vulnerability over silence. In a surprising move, she checked into a rehabilitation program, inviting cameras into group therapy sessions and one-on-one counseling. What made this admission extraordinary wasn't the spectacle, but the authenticity behind it. A woman once lauded for her toughness now embraced her fragility, and in doing so, connected with millions who carried hidden wounds of their own. Through tears of apology and acknowledgement, Lyssa began to reclaim her narrative. Out of the ashes of her relapse, a new Lyssa Chapman emerged. In 2012, after Dog the Bounty Hunter concluded its A&E run, she pivoted from bail bonds to small business ownership. Opening a boutique tanning salon in Honolulu might have seemed a leap, but for Lyssa it symbolized reinvention. The salon was her sanctuary, a haven where women could feel empowered beneath a bronze glow, their confidence softening the edges of past wounds. Walls lined with client selfies and local influencer shoutouts chronicled its success. More than a business, it became her healing ground, a place where she could see tangible proof of transformation. Not content to rest on this triumph, Lyssa expanded into fashion. In early 2019, she launched Baby by Lyssa Chapman, a clothing line tailored for busy mothers juggling multiple roles. Each piece, whether eco-friendly activewear or cozy loungewear, reflected her commitment to resilience, durability, and everyday style. Through Instagram live sessions and pop-up events, she cultivated a vibrant community, turning customers into advocates. Her journey from bail bonds to boardrooms illustrated a central theme. Every broken piece could be remade stronger and more beautiful than before. By 2013, her story moved from television scripts to printed pages when she released her memoir, Walking on Eggshells. The book's candid accounts of trauma and resilience broke sales records, proving that her voice could now stand apart from any camera angle. Following the success of her memoir, Lyssa Chapman channeled her story into tangible change. In November of 2020, alongside former NFL standout Rainey Robinson, she launched Lost Never Forgotten, a nonprofit dedicated to tracking down missing persons and human trafficking victims. Unlike faceless agencies that process cold case files in sterile offices, her initiative embraced personalization and relentless tenacity. Each file was treated as a human life with its own narrative, rich with memories, portraits, and hopes. Through 24/7 tip lines, viral social media campaigns, and on-the-ground surveillance, Lyssa's team reunited dozens of families previously written off by traditional investigative methods. One unforgettable case involved a 15-year-old girl who vanished from Seattle's bus terminals nearly 18 months earlier. While local law enforcement had exhausted leads, Lyssa applied her bounty hunting instincts, honing in on shell company registrations, conducting stakeouts near known trafficking hotspots, and interviewing luminous informants who spoke in coded trade languages. Within weeks, she orchestrated the safe return of that teenager to her tearful mother's embrace. National news outlets splashed the rescue across primetime broadcasts, fueling a surge of interest that secured additional funding. In less than 2 years, Lost Never Forgotten established chapters in 50 states, creating a network that spanned urban centers and rural backroads alike, proving that her commitment transcended geographic boundaries and biases. But rescue work represented only one facet of her evolving mission. In early 2016, Lyssa took another daring leap. She publicly came out as bisexual, sharing her long-term relationship with partner Liana Evanson. The revelation was more than a coming-out story. It was a challenge to stereotypes that had shadowed her since childhood. Having endured isolation and fear of judgment, Lyssa understood the importance of safe spaces for LGBTQ youth. She founded the Rainbow Bridge Project, an outreach program providing mentorship, counseling, and emergency shelter to queer teens and young adults. The project's signature events range from luau-style beach bonfires in Honolulu, where survivors shared stories beneath palm fronds, to virtually hosted support circles during pandemic lockdowns. Teens who once felt trapped in silent closets now discovered communities of acceptance and love. Her rallying cry, "Born to Thrive, Not Just Survive," became the project's anthem, emblazoned on t-shirts, hoodies, and wristbands worn by thousands. Through heartfelt Instagram and Facebook Live sessions, she candidly addressed her own fears, teasing anxious newcomers with disarming humor and lived honesty. By the end of 2019, Rainbow Bridge boasted over 50 active chapters across 15 states, matching hundreds of qualified mentors with more than 10,000 at-risk youths who credited Lyssa's platform with saving their lives. As her influence expanded, Lyssa harnessed her platform for systemic change. In May of 2021, she accepted an invitation to testify before the United States Senate Committee on Commerce, Science, and Transportation. The high-profile hearing focused on the digital facilitation of human trafficking and exploitation. Drawing from both her personal history and her investigative work with Lost Never Forgotten, she delivered a searing testimony that wove harrowing anecdotes with actionable policy recommendations. She described how encrypted messaging apps and ephemeral social media stories masked predatory behaviors, echoing her own childhood experiences of hidden abuse and secret messages. Senators, visibly moved as Lyssa narrated the story of a 16-year-old coerced through online lures, leaned forward in their seats. She called for mandatory reporting laws, streamlined interagency databases, and federal grants to improve investigative technology. The hearing concluded with a rare standing ovation, and within weeks Congress approved an additional $50 million earmarked for anti-trafficking initiatives. Mainstream media headlines christened her the bounty hunter for justice. But for Lyssa, the real triumph lay in amplifying the voiceless and forcing institutional accountability. Parallel to her professional crusades, Lyssa carefully sculpted her personal life into a testament of authenticity and enduring love. In June of 2022, she married her partner Liana in a deeply intimate ceremony on Lanikai Beach at sunrise. Decked in simple, flowing linens and adorned with fresh flower lace, the couple exchanged vows ankle-deep in cerulean water. Only 7 close family members watched as they pledged solidarity in good times and bad, under a sky painted in pastels. The choice to keep the guest list small reflected Lyssa's belief that love's power needs no grand stage, only sincere hearts and open minds. Photographs of the ceremony flooded social media, their radiant smiles framed by Hawaiian traditions, shattering expectations of brash celebrity weddings. Their union signified more than personal joy. It symbolized Lyssa's transformation from a sheltered, fearful child into an adult unashamed of her multifaceted identity. Together, they continued to co-parent Lyssa's daughters, Abby and Madeline, prioritizing transparency and compassionate speech when navigating educational and social challenges. Her story invites us all to embrace our own hidden strengths and spark meaningful transformation daily. Even as Lyssa Chapman's public profile soared, she never stopped confronting the shadows within. After her marriage ceremony in 2022, she and Liana returned to Honolulu with fresh resolve. Their days settled into a disciplined, almost ritualistic pattern. Morning yoga on the balcony overlooking the Pacific, followed by quiet breakfasts where they shared intentions for the day. Lyssa would send her daughters off to school, then dive into administrative work for Lost Never Forgotten, scanning case files like a bloodhound on the trail. Evenings were devoted to Rainbow Bridge's mentorship calls, where Lyssa's voice, steady, compassionate, candid, sounded like a lifeline to marginalized youth. Finding space for creativity, she also penciled ideas for her next book, one focused on healing practices rooted in Hawaiian traditions: Lomi Lomi massage, Ho'oponopono forgiveness circles, and ulu, breadfruit, cultivation as metaphors for resilience. Grounded in ancestral wisdom, yet powered by her own trauma-forged grit, the manuscript promised to be more than memoir. It would serve as a roadmap for anyone seeking personal rebirth. Public appearances remained a critical part of her work. In early 2023, Lyssa joined a panel at a TEDx conference in Los Angeles under the theme, Breaking Chains, Building Bridges. While some expected her to recount dramatic bail hunter exploits, she instead pivoted to vulnerability. She described nights of panic attacks that left her gasping for air, nights spent wishing she could trade places with the very runaways she chased. Her honesty drew a standing ovation, and clips of her speech spread across social media like wildfire. Within hours, Rainbow Bridge chapters reported a spike in volunteer applications, and mental health organizations reached out, requesting partnerships. Genuine vulnerability, Lyssa had learned, was as powerful as any high-speed arrest. Her influence expanded beyond America's shores. In late 2023, she received an invitation to speak at an international summit on human trafficking in Geneva. Boarding that transatlantic flight, she thought of the frightened 12-year-old girl she helped save from a Balkan ring, her white-knuckled grip inside a crowded safe house, as she whispered assurances. In Switzerland, she delivered a keynote that intertwined stark statistics. An estimated 27 million people trapped in modern slavery, with urgent human stories. She challenged governments to harmonize cross-border data sharing and promised that Lost Never Forgotten would provide training for European law enforcement. After the speech, delegates lined up, some with tears in their eyes, to shake her hand. For the first time, Lyssa realized her childhood trauma and teenage motherhood had given her a unique perspective, one that transcended cultural and legal barriers. At Kati home in Hawaii, Lyssa and Liana also found time to nurture their domestic life. They renovated a historic plantation-style house, adding solar panels and rainwater catchment systems, modeling sustainable living. Family Sundays were reserved for communal cooking sessions. Abby taught her little sister Madeline how to crack eggs without shells, while Liana guided them through traditional poi preparation. Those simple moments, punctuated by laughter and sticky countertops, reminded Lyssa why her fight mattered. Each rescued child, each teenager finding self-acceptance, traced back to these quiet affirmations of belonging. Despite this stability, Lyssa never shied away from confronting personal struggles. When old triggers surfaced, a sudden collapse of a support network or an anniversary of her arrest, she leaned into therapy, embracing EMDR techniques to reprocess trauma and scuba diving to face her fears head-on. She spoke publicly about her mental health regimen in a candid Instagram series titled Ripples of Resilience, where she filmed underwater meditations, captioned with reflections on letting go of fear. The series garnered millions of views and sparked a broader conversation about non-traditional healing modalities. Mental health professionals praised her willingness to destigmatize therapy and experimentation, noting that her influence encouraged people to explore holistic care that in her business ventures. Innovation remained central. By mid-2024, Baby by Lyssa Chapman had evolved from comfortable loungewear into a lifestyle brand that offered eco-friendly home goods and self-care kits. Each kit contained items like beeswax candles, artisanal soaps, and miniature journals, all packaged in sustainable materials. Profits funded scholarships for Rainbow Bridge participants, demonstrating her dedication to reinvesting in the next generation. Her adaptive approach, adding face masks to her product line during the pandemic, pivoting to digital sales as physical stores shuttered, showcased a nimble entrepreneurial spirit honed in the unpredictable world of bounty hunting. Social media became a platform for education as well as inspiration. Lyssa's TikTok videos, a blend of quick storytelling and advocacy, often juxtaposed childhood photos with present-day footage of her activist work. In one viral clip, she stood outside the abandoned trailer where she once lived, reflecting on how far she'd come. In another, she interviewed a recently rescued trafficking survivor, ensuring the survivor's voice remained front and center. Her feed balanced raw authenticity with polished content, maintaining high engagement and reaching audiences often overlooked by traditional media. Looking to the future, Lyssa Chapman has set ambitious goals. She's planning a documentary series that chronicles post-rescue rehabilitation, following trafficking survivors as they reclaim their autonomy through art therapy, vocational training, and community support. She's also collaborating with technology firms to develop an AI-powered alert system that can detect and flag suspicious online behaviors linked to exploitation. In every step, she applies lessons from her own life. Trauma can be transformed into purpose, and purpose can ripple outward to reshape systems and lives. Lyssa's evolution. From a child burdened by her parents' addictions to a teen mother surviving in isolation, from a bounty hunter who chased fugitives to an advocate who chases justice, unfolds across 6 decades of lived experience packed into her 37 years. Her narrative teaches us that identity is not solely inherited or imposed. It is continually forged through the choices we make when confronted with pain. And in choosing to turn her wounds into tools for rescue and her scars into channels for empathy, Lyssa Chapman invites each of us to reconsider our own narratives. We might not all have bounty hunting bloodlines, but we all carry stories worth sharing. And in sharing them, we forge bridges where once there were only chains. Lyssa's next big endeavor is an immersive documentary series shining light on life after rescue, the unseen trajectories of survivors once cameras leave and headlines fade. This project will embed small crews with recovery homes, vocational training centers, art therapy circles, and families reclaiming lost time. Viewers will witness the raw turbulence of reintegration, survivors facing solitude after trafficking rings, relearning trust in routine tasks, and battling self-doubt before each new milestone. Intimate verite footage will alternate with expert commentary, psychologists decoding trauma bonds, social workers mapping bureaucratic roadblocks, and Lyssa herself drawing on her teenage motherhood and bounty hunting grit to guide every investigative step. Rather than sanitize these journeys, the series will embrace both moments of fragile growth, a first genuine smile after night terrors, and sudden setbacks like missing court dates or relapses into fear. By tracing individual arcs over multiple episodes, Lyssa hopes to dismantle stereotypes, replacing static case numbers with living, breathing stories of resilience. Parallel to filming, she's collaborating with tech innovators to develop an AI-powered alert system, codenamed Project Watchdog. This tool scans online chatter for red flags, encrypted group chats, forum threads hinting at recruitment tactics, and disguised language patterns traffickers use to lure victims. Built with privacy safeguards and in partnership with civil rights advocates, Watchdog will alert law enforcement or nonprofit responders when suspicious activity crosses pre-configured thresholds. In prototyping trials, the system flagged a social media account promising VIP modeling contracts to underage applicants. Local authorities intervened before any meetings occurred, underscoring the model's life-saving potential. For Lyssa, the marriage of data science and human intuition recalls her years sifting through fugitive files, every slip-up, every clue hidden in plain sight. She envisions a future where grassroots activists, local police, and AI systems work in harmony to close gaps criminals exploit. Her passion for holistic healing also led her to write a companion guidebook on personal reckoning, drawing from Hawaiian traditions and modern psychology. Slated for release next spring, the book, tentatively titled Waves of Renewal, will explore practices like Ho'oponopono forgiveness circles, Lomi Lomi bodywork, and facilitated breathwork sessions inspired by ocean rhythms. In workshops she's piloted, participants describe emotional blockages easing when they symbolically release grief into the sea, then watch the tide carry sorrow away. Through lyrical storytelling and guided exercises, Lyssa invites readers to become active participants in their own recovery rather than passive observers of pain. Interwoven with survivor testimonials, the text emphasizes communal ritual as a counterpoint to isolation, echoing lessons she learned during her Rainbow Bridge bonfires and Senate testimony. Recognition for Lyssa's advocacy continues to pour in. This past summer, she accepted the Humanitarian of the Year award from a national anti-trafficking coalition, an honor that typically goes to larger NGOs, making her win unprecedented. In her acceptance speech, she recounted being a 14-year-old teen mother with no safety net, reminding everyone that no single narrative captures the full spectrum of human struggle. Headlines celebrated her as the bounty hunter turned beacon of hope, but she deflected praise to the hundreds of volunteers and survivors who taught her the true meaning of community. Months later, a prestigious journalism foundation tapped her to co-teach a reporting fellowship, training young journalists to cover trafficking ethically. Eschewing sensationalism in favor of dignity and context, in her personal realm, Lyssa and Liana balance high-impact schedules with simple rituals that ground their family. Weekend hikes through Oahu's lush valleys have become therapy in motion. Every step an affirmation of survival, every shared breath a lesson in presence. Over homemade poke bowls, they debrief volunteer calls and celebrate minor victories, like granting a small scholarship to a Rainbow Bridge mentee or sending a care package of mist nets and sleep mats to a shelter in East Africa. Their plantation-style home, retrofitted with solar power and native gardens, stands as a living testament that sustainable living and social justice are not separate goals, but interwoven commitments that on social media, Lyssa continues to defy expectations. Her TikTok series, Rescue Recon, pairs split-screen childhood photos with clips of her investigative methods, tracking IP addresses, coordinating stakeouts, or negotiating interviews with reluctant eyewitnesses. In under 60 seconds, she goes from recalling midnight feedings as a teenage mom to deconstructing the language traffickers use to manipulate vulnerable targets online. Comments flood in. I never knew how complex this was. Evidence that education can be as compelling as entertainment when delivered with honesty. Looking ahead, Lyssa Chapman is charting new territories. She's in talks with international broadcasters to distribute her documentary series globally and is exploring an academic appointment to teach trauma-informed advocacy. Meanwhile, Watchdog is entering its beta phase with pilot cities lined up in North America, Europe, and South America. With every partnership, she reinforces her core belief that accountability must be systemic, combining law enforcement, technology, community networks, and the voices of survivors themselves. Lyssa's journey from Baby Lyssa, a troubled daughter labeled by addiction and secrecy, to a visionary activist and entrepreneur illustrates that identity is never fixed. It is shaped by the choices we make when adversity demands reinvention. Through rescue operations, legislative advocacy, entrepreneurial ventures, and cultural storytelling, she has transformed her wounds into wings. Her legacy reminds us all that the most powerful stories are not those we inherit, but those we courageously rewrite. As this journey brings us to today, imagine standing on the shore of your own story, watching waves both gentle and fierce crash against memory's shoreline. For Lyssa Chapman, each swell recalls challenges once faced alone. A 5-year-old caring for siblings in a Hawaii home shadowed by addiction. A 14-year-old navigating teen pregnancy in Alaska's bitter cold. An 18-year-old earning bail bonds credentials while juggling motherhood. The same spirit that propelled her into stakeouts now drives global advocacy. Pain and purpose collide in her life like high-velocity currents, carving new channels where once there were only scars. Through resilience refined by heartbreak, Lyssa has discovered that the power to rewrite destiny lies in embracing our darkest chapters, turning them into the fuel that lights the path forward. Today, Lyssa's influence extends across multiple continents, forging alliances that blend grassroots action with cutting-edge technology. Through Lost Never Forgotten's expanding network, she has inspired local chapters in over 60 countries, uniting activists, survivors, and law enforcement under a shared mission: intercept exploitation before it flourishes. Simultaneously, Project Watchdog's AI modules continue to evolve, scanning billions of data points in real time for digital breadcrumbs that betray trafficking networks. Partnering with international NGO task forces, she has overseen the safe recovery of hundreds of victims previously considered irretrievable. Meanwhile, her calls for policy reform have led to new legislation in 3 nations, mandating cross-border data, sharing, and victim-centered protocols. Never content with incremental gains, Lyssa pushes boundaries. Traveling from Geneva to Nairobi, she convenes roundtable dialogues where survivors outline the missing links in global systems. In her hands, advocacy becomes both an art and a science, a powerful convergence of lived experience and innovative tools that on the home front, Lyssa balances relentless work with intentional self-care and family connection. Mornings begin with sunrise rituals, Liana's hands guiding her through Ho'oponopono forgiveness circles, where words of release echo against surf. Later, Abby and Madeline join weekend art therapy sessions, painting their hopes on canvas while guided by community mentors. In the afternoons, they explore Oahu's lush trails, each step a meditation on growth. These rituals underscore Lyssa's belief that recovery is not a solitary conquest, but a shared journey. Even her business, Baby by Lyssa Chapman, mirrors this ethos. Every purchase plants a seed, literally, with profits funding reforestation projects on Hawaiian slopes. Laughter over mango-spiked smoothies blends with strategy calls, proof that resilience can taste as sweet as the fruit that nourishes her family. Even within her philanthropic and entrepreneurial worlds, Lyssa never compartmentalizes her mission. Each venture, from rescue operations to retail, weaves into a unified tapestry of empowerment. Picture a conference room where she briefs corporate sponsors on trauma-informed product lines, then slips out to save dinner with her daughters. Witness how board meetings for policy reform seamlessly segue into bedtime stories, where she narrates tales of heroes born from hardship. This seamless blend of professional rigor and personal warmth elevates her leadership style, making every boardroom encounter as authentic as family supper. It's here, in the overlap of public impact and private devotion, that Lyssa exemplifies a modern exemplar of integrated living, where true success is measured not by quarterly profits, but by lives uplifted across every dimension. Now, as you absorb the scope of Lyssa's journey, consider your own narrative. How might you turn trials into training grounds, challenges into catalysts for change? Lyssa's life reminds us that resilience is not an innate gift reserved for a few, but a muscle we develop each time we choose courage over comfort. By reaching out to neighbors in need, amplifying marginalized voices, or dedicating resources to causes you cherish, you become architects of transformation in your corner of the world. If you felt stuck in old patterns, remember, the same human spirit that once sprinted across Hawaiian streets to catch fugitives can sprint through bureaucracy to rewrite laws, or dive into digital archives to locate missing souls. Your next step may feel daunting, but in Lyssa's story, you find a blueprint for impact, one choice at a time. This is more than a chronicle, it's an invitation. Lyssa Chapman turned every barrier into a launchpad for change. From the brink of despair to the halls of power, she wove a single thread: unwavering belief that every human life holds limitless potential. As you step away from this story, remember that healing begins with small acts: a compassionate word, a steady hand, an unrelenting refusal to let suffering remain hidden. In each of us lies the possibility to chase hope like a fugitive and to build bridges where walls once stood. What chapter will you write next? The pages await your courage. Reach out, act boldly, and join this unstoppable movement today.